Sorry about that, the last video cut out, so we're continuing on. I was saying that this foam, the Y20 Foam, and I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. You hear on the internet it's called L200. That's a specific name brand given to by a company, but it's actually Y20 is what you want to use. It's called Y20. And that's the generic name for this type. And like I said, you can find it. I'm just backing up because I don't know when my sound cut out. You can buy this. It's similar to the stuff that you can buy for camping that you lay on the ground. It's usually in bright blue. And it's a similar texture, and it's got a lot of flexibility, like foam, a bit. Not a lot, but enough. But it's hard. So when you cover your puppet, it will keep its shape while you cover it, so you actually have the shape that you want for your puppet. If you use foam like this and build up like an eyebrow, the fabric will cause a bump in the fabric, but it'll tone it down. So it's all right to use foam like this, reticulated foam, to make, you know, shapes, but realize it won't show as bold as this stuff would. So if you're looking for areas to be discreet in your puppet, then use your foam. If you want something like eyebrows or things to really be bold and stand out and take the shape, then you need to go to this or Magic Model, which I'm going to show you a picture of it. Just hold on, let me grab. Here it is. Here it is, right here. It's called Crayola's Model Magic. Sorry, Model Magic. I also use this. I just, you can buy it in smaller bags. I buy it in large containers. I just buy it in plain white. I think it's cheaper than the colored stuff. Oh, they call it Eva foam? Okay, so it's funny. Every place seems to have a different name. But this stuff here, I also use. If you see the aliens behind my head, I actually used Model Magic to form their noses and their eyelids and glued it on. Shaped it on the foam, let it dry on the foam, and then removed it, glued it down onto the foam. And what's good about this is you can also shape it even after it dries. Some of the edges aren't as smooth, so you can use a pair of scissors or a razor blade and cut it to smooth it out. So I guess that's, you know, this is a great demo right here. It's showing you how, you know, the foam, the Y20 foam works. You can see right here where this is actually the cylinder. The shape of this puppet is cylinder. And it's got a round head on top, which I'm going to show you how to make an oval. So this is an oval shaped head pretty much. So all this area up here, all down here is all, and the lips down below is all Model Magic, which you see on your screen. And I formed it and shaped it and then glued it on. So that's what it is. Is it very expensive, Jimbo? Good question. You can get it at Michael's, other places that sell Crayola products. I think this is $24 for 4 decent sized bags. But if you use their 40% off coupons, it brings it down to almost half price. And you can do, you know, quite a few puppets with it. Yeah, so it's not overly expensive. Okay? And it air dries overnight, maybe a couple days even, but you can see what I mean by it really shows the dimension and it doesn't blend in. So this is, yeah, using Model Magic, this puppet right here. So, and we're going to show you in just a minute how to do an oval shaped head as well. Now the only problem with Model Magic, you've got to use it up. It air dries so quickly. So it dries so quickly. So when you open a bag, I put it in like 3 or 4 different Ziploc bags, believe it or not, because this stuff, well, you can see I put it some right in here, but it comes in these size bags, and you get 4 of them. And before you leave the store, when you purchase it, open the container and make sure it's fresh. Be able to push your hand into it and it stays. If you push your hand into it and it bounces back, it's dried out, because it has been known to dry out in the packaging. So be aware before you leave the store. Yeah, it is a good size. But this has been sitting around and it's still pretty good. So I do use, put it in, but I'd say about 3 or 4 Ziploc. Yes, you can use styrofoam as well, but if you're using foam, styrofoam can break underneath the fabric. Yeah, it is much cheaper, but you run the risk of it potentially breaking. It can be, yes, Jimbo, it can be painted. Absolutely, you can paint it even with markers. You can paint it with markers. It's like a clay for kids, and it air dries. It doesn't get all over your hands. It's safe to use. It air dries. It's got a little, when you squeeze it, it's got a little bounce back. That's it. It is, but once you get it layered between 2 layers, it has some flexibility, Creaturess. But you're right, it can break as well. You're right, it can. And it dries, yeah, and it dries very light. It is so light, this stuff. Very light. So it's a great recommendation on that. Okay, oval heads. So how I made those alien heads, again, I break everything down, simple shapes. I don't make my life difficult. Some people get out graph paper, pencil, calculators, and they spend hours forming and shaping so they get this perfect shape out of one piece of foam. You know what? I have the same results as they do exactly, and I just break everything down simply. If you draw anything, you break everything down into simple shapes, and then you start adding and forming it, and getting the form and the expression that you want, right? So that's how I do it. Again, I'm not saying I have all the answers, and yes, if you love numbers and calculators and rulers and graph paper, by all means, do it. But I'm not that type of person. I break it down, keep it simple, and still end up with the same results. So, what I would do is, again, form this into a cylinder, leaving an idea that I'm going to put a sphere, a half a sphere, on top of its head. Okay? So, if it's too big, you can always cut this down. It's easier to cut something down if it's too big than to make it too small and try to add to it. Okay? So, here's the shape, 1/2 of the sphere. This is the average shape. If I put this together, I'm going to get a sphere shape. And if I add another, it'll be a little more rounded. This is paper again. And I would glue on another sphere on the other half, and I would have a rounded top. A rounded top then. So that's kind of the basic shape that you would use to get 2 of these, flipped over once, traced again, the basic shape. Okay? Depending on how big your cylinder is, will depend on how big this will, how big you need to make your sphere to fit on top. Okay? And that's a little bit of experimenting and sticking to the paper until you get it right. So there we go. We've covered tonight dyeing Antron fleece. We've covered from beginning to end. We've covered foam cutting, and really just a basic overview of developing a pattern